In this demonstration, I'm going to go over the review exercise that we're doing for our HTML and CSS. I do have a finished version here sitting in my browser, so let me use that to explain what's required. And I'll start with the HTML elements and then we'll kind of circle back to the CSS. So again, I do have the finished page here in my browser window. You will notice that the image on the right is fixed to the right top corner. So that's something we will address with CSS. And if I scroll down to the bottom of the page, I have a link down here that does snap back to the top of the page. So I will explain that shortly, but those are sort of the main features here beyond what you can see. So to start with, we do have an H1 element at the top, and it'll just be your first and last name inside of H1 tags. Second element on the page, even though it's deceiving right now, will be this circular image here, which I think is called fantascape.png or .jpeg. And then the third element will be this square image, if you will, and we'll ultimately be decorating the border with CSS. And then below that, just a simple paragraph element explaining that the image in a circle is also going to be a link to page 2, and you can see there that that is a link, and I'll click on that shortly. Following that, I've got an element inside of H2 tags, basically just describing what's in the next element, which is a list. It's an unordered list. You can see that by the bullet points. And I have 3 list items. So I'll get you to do 3 list items. Below the list is a hypertext link linking to an external website, and we will decorate the 3 states for our hypertext links. We'll create a link for a style for the link, we'll create a style for the hover, and we'll create a style for the visited state. And those are all manifesting here now. Then below that, we will create a table, 2 rows, 2 columns. You will provide each cell space, or you will put the image inside of each cell space inside of that table. And then with CSS, we will decorate the 4 borders with unique colors, and the bottom one will be thicker than the rest. Okay, and then here is my other hypertext link, which again links to the top of the page. Okay, so let's talk about this image again over here. As I move my browser width, it does stay fixed to the right side, always in this exact location. And it conceivably could overlap if it was too small or if my browser was shrunken to a very narrow width. Okay, so let me click on this, which also acts as a link, and it goes to page 2. Very simple page 2. H1 tags, hypertext link back to the home page, and the larger version of that image. You will also attach or link to the same CSS file for this, which will decorate the background automatically and create a default font size for the fonts on the page. Okay, so I click back here. It's a 2-page system. Second page is just got very few elements. First page has most of the work. So let's talk about the CSS. I'm actually going to right click on here, or you know what, I think I'll go out to my software called TextMate and we'll talk about that. Here is the code for my HTML, by the way. You can quickly take a screen grab of that or just have a look at it for hints, because I'm not going to build this from scratch, but you can see all the elements here. Okay, I'm not going to walk through this now. I've described them. You can pause your screen if you like and have a closer look at this, but let me jump over to the CSS. Okay, so let's talk about the CSS. We've got what looks like 3 selector types. One for the body, which is usually used for sort of default features of the page. One of them is the background color, and one is the font size. So I have a background color and a default font size of 18 pixels. The next element is UL, that is your unordered list, and I'm just applying a color, and again a font size to these elements you see right over here. The third is addressing the tables, any tables on the page, and I'm addressing the 4 borders, if you will, using the border shortcut, border dash top, 10 pixels, solid blue, and so on for the rest. So the top, left, and right will be 10 pixels. The border bottom, 20 pixels. They will all be solid, and then 4 separate colors, as you see here. And again, this is using the shortcut method, which really saves a lot of text area for the borders. All right, and then they're all closed off, of course, with the curly braces. And then let's move down to the ID that I have called right image. And that is for that circular image. So we will use a position property, and the attribute will be absolute. And I'm saying place it 50 pixels from the top, 150 pixels from the right, and make the width 300 pixels. And this is intended to go into the div tag. Okay, I'll go back and I'll show you that. So why don't we look at that right now. Here's my div tag right here for my image. And if I zoom up on that, you can see that I have an ID attributed called right image. Okay, and that is what is being described over here. So position, top, right, and width. And again, the width is meant for the div tag, right? Not the image inside the div tag. Down below that, I've got a class style called myImage, and that's to address this square picture right here. Again, using the border shortcuts, we're just going to declare 10 pixel width, solid, and a specific color. You can type in red. I was using hexadecimal numbers for mine. And then finally down here, addressing the hypertext link states, we've got a link, just applying color for the first one. And then if it's clicked once, it's called a:visited. I'm also using text decoration. I'm going to put an underline there, and then a unique color. And then third, a:hover. That's when your mouse rolls over it. That will also change the color. And as a text decoration, I'm using the one called line through. Okay, so I'd like you to repeat that in your demo. And when you're done all of this, you'll hand this all in the canvas as a zipped root folder. Let me remind you, don't hand in the individual files. Compress the entire root folder and hand that in as your assignment. So let's go back here as well. Page 2 I have here too. Very simple, of course. There's my H1 tags. There's my link back to the index page, and there is the image itself. Okay. So if I go back here to the actual demonstration, again, this is inside of a div tag. It's an image, and it's also acting as a link to page 2. Here's my link back. And I'll remind you, put a link at the bottom that will link to the ID attached to this H1 tag. And that is your review assignment for today.